I remember that I started to knit at a time in our lives that was really tumultuous and stressful and really kind of devastating. And I wanted to, it was part of my kids' nursery school program. They were still very young. And I realized that when I was knitting, even if I was just like sitting in a circle with some other moms knitting a tiny, putting some stitches on needles, my kids, I could see they felt more relaxed and that they were more at peace and that they felt comforted somehow by my knitting. And so that was my initial impetus, really. And then I realized as I started to get better and do it more often, I was starting to feel more calm about my own life. Knitting helped me to forge a new way of thinking at the same time as creating something really beautiful and useful. It literally created a new world for me. I'm Lisa, and this is Life with Fife, a podcast that talks about knitting, creativity, spirituality, and how all of those things intersect to help make our lives more meaningful and more beautiful. I talk about Elizabeth Zimmerman sometimes. I share lots of my knits. And if this sounds like it's the right thing for you, I hope that you will like and subscribe and join us. And please know that you are in the right place. So part of what helped me to create this new world that was exposed to me when I started knitting was connecting with other creatives and seeing them forge their own realities as well. And when I was in that community, I realized that what happened in the outside world didn't really touch that world. And it was really an incredible awareness for me. It was the first time in my life that I realized that you could forge your own reality, one that was completely, maybe not completely, but very much disconnected from the stress and the troubles of the everyday world. So for me, knitting became a manifestation. It was literally through my hands, my fingers, my focus that a new reality was created. It's one of the best material examples that I've experienced personally that really demonstrate what quantum physics talks about, that consciousness can exist outside of our body. I mean, if you think about it, what expresses your desires and hopes and dreams more than a sweater that you've been working on for the last month or so? I've been reading Brian Eno's book called What is Art? Really, really interesting. Highly recommend it. But he talks about how style and fashion are one of the first ways that um, as we change and grow and form our own identities, that this is how we present ourselves to the world. And of course, like so many of you, I'm sure this is absolutely true for me. I mean, when I was, an adolescent, I remember kind of dressing like a hippie, and that felt so radical compared to the conservative family that I grew up in. And it felt like I was really establishing myself as an independent young woman. And then as I came a little bit older, I started to look into, like, I got my taste changed and my interest changed, and I got into new wave and I got into punk. And that was how I started to dress and cut my hair and wear my makeup and all of those things. And again, it really felt like this was how I was saying to the world, like, this is who I am and take it or leave it. And I had that adolescent rebellion that just kind of, I didn't really care so much what others thought of me. I cared about what I thought of me. And I think that that is still such an important part of who I am today. And today, style and fashion and now knitting is such a huge piece of me forging my identity as I am like well into middle age, right? And how do I want to be defined? And how do I see myself in this world? And sometimes we can fool ourselves into thinking that, we can affect how others see us. But we really don't have a ton of control over that. I mean, even you watching this right now, you have a view of me that is your view of me that really may not be related to who I am as a human. But this idea that I am someone who is creating how I want to be perceived in the world is crucial to who I am as I grow and change and read, and my spirituality, what I've learned, what I'm the art that I'm exposed to, all of these things, experiences in my life, all of these things factor into who I am and how I want to express myself. And so it's all such a huge piece of my creativity. And yeah, it's just really, this book is having me really look at this in a new way. And I wanted to share some of my thoughts about that today. I'd love to hear what your knitting story is. How did you come into knitting? So today we're going to talk about accessories and new techniques that can be learned through through making accessories. I love making accessories because I always learn something new, and it's a great way to test out a new technique or test out something um, completely new. And so for I guess the last few weeks since I've last been in here, I made a few accessories. This hat it's not new. I made this last year, but I'm wearing it in a new way. I used to wear it as like a slouchy beanie, and now I'm wearing it as like a folded over beanie. But I just think styling things differently is also a real huge piece of why I knit and creativity and all of that. So here's something that I did work on last week, which I really, really love this. It's the Harris hood. So, oh my God, who is this? Coco Amore. So this is knitted in, this is about 8 hours of knitting. I still haven't blocked it. So I think that when I do, this is going to loosen up more. And if it doesn't, I'm not completely unhappy with it. For some reason, this technique of binding off and um, sewing, folding the hem and binding off is always a little tricky for me. Sometimes it just works amazingly well, um, and other times it's too tight. So I don't know what the magic sauce is with that, but maybe you have some ideas. But this is just a really great, so warm. It's knitted in Isager um, yarn. That's how I would pronounce that name. I lived in Denmark for a number of years, and I do speak Danish, and that's how I say it. I don't know if it's pronounced Isager in American English, but I've never heard it pronounced. Um, I used her or their one strand silk mohair and one strand alpaca. I think it was alpaca 3. So it's extremely warm. It does shed quite a bit. And the problem that I had when I was wearing this, we visited some friends in Burlington, and I was wearing it. It was the perfect headgear to wear because, like all knitted garments, it solves problems, right? And the problem is, trying to look fashionable or nice or in cold weather, miserable weather. And it solved that. And it also, it also solves the other problem of hat head, which sometimes is a concern, right? It's just so loose, and it really is elegant looking, and it's just a very attractive and warm and functional piece. The bottom, so you start off knitting a square in the center, and then you knit around, you pick up stitches, and you keep going back and forth, and then you start adding in increases, and you knit back and forth for most of the hood until you get down to the neck. Um, and then it's picked up in the round, and there's a ribbing that's added and an Italian bind off. But I don't like doing the Italian bind off, so I did the Rook bind off. And I don't know if the Italian bind off would have given it a little more stretch or a little more tightness. I don't know, but it's very loose, which is how I like it. So I can tuck it in how I prefer. But what did I learn in here? I learned, how to make a hood, like just it was knitted back and forth. As most of you who follow me know, I do a ton of knitting in the round. So I don't, but I've learned to really manage. This was a good practice for me to keep my gauge consistent, going back and forth. And I think I did a pretty good job of that. And just really love this. I think this is just like a really great piece that I'm happy to have in my wardrobe. So the second the second accessory that I knitted is this. I don't know what to call it. So it's not, it didn't turn out to be a wearable accessory for me. It started out as this, the Rilla Luth, or Rilla Ruth. I thought it was really cute, and I thought it would be a great another just thing to keep for my ears, because my ears get really cold in the winter. Um, then when I wore it, it looked, I don't know, there was something about it that I didn't want to, it looked costumey on me, and I didn't, that was not at all what I wanted. So I thought maybe if I just, kept knitting, picked up, and then just started knitting it and made it into a hat, it would look less costumey. But no, it still looked exactly the same. But so I decided I would try some completely, like, I want to buy Judith Gemlich's book, Embroidery. Really want to get that book. That book looks amazing. And but I didn't. I haven't gotten it yet. So I just online searched for a simple embroidery technique, and I saw this rose, and I thought, okay, I could add a rose on here, and I'm going to practice using this to just do some simple embroidery, because it's like a perfect stockinette. It's like double knitted and perfect for embroidery patterns. But I learned how to make this twist, which I guess could be like, so this could be something you might want to attach, on the bottom of a sweater or something. It's just a good technique to learn. And I learned how to make something in a tube, sew up the tube, and then turn it into another object. So it was like I made a tube, and then you kind of turn the tube into this turban. So I don't know, pretty cool. Learned a lot. Don't necessarily feel like this is going to be, I mean, it might be for, like, I feel like it's a child's hat, maybe, or like a very elderly person's hat. I don't know. Maybe, am I wrong? Am I being like ageist in some way? But this feels just a little costumey and a little, not really my style. So, but good experience nonetheless. And while I just take a break for a second, showing you some of these knits, I want to share with you this book that when I ordered the Isaiah yarn, I saw this book, and I had to have it because I want to make so many. I mean, it's such a beautiful, beautiful book. It's like a book you can just keep on your coffee table. I love this sweater. I love this sweater. It's gorgeous. I love black and white. I love color work, but I just love something about the elegance and simplicity of black and white. And I want to make this sweater. It's a bottom up. So I think I'm going to start, there's a hat that's a version of it. So I'm going to just become more familiar with the techniques. Look at this gorgeous sweater. I want to make this as well. It's just so, there's such an elegance and high fashion kind of feel to her knits. And her life story is so incredibly interesting. I mean, she's traveled everywhere. She's had a great knitting life. I mean, she's far from finished with it, but so far it's been amazing. She's traveled the world, and this is about her time in Africa, and her time in Greenland, and in various parts of in Peru, where she's just influenced by their use of color and design. And it's so beautiful what she comes up with, everything. I mean, you can see here, this is a real like Peruvian um, motif. And you could just, see how it influenced how she made sweaters. And this book smells good. I don't know why it smells so good, but probably because she uses like really good inks or something. But here's one from her time in Africa, influenced by her time in Africa. Also really beautiful, just really unique. And just, I love this. I think this is really beautiful. And this is knitted in a really unique way. I was really surprised to see that it was knitted from side to side, from sleeve to sleeve. So that's really cool. Here's a close up of that stripe pattern that's in that brown sweater that I'm definitely going to make. And I think I'm going to keep those colors because one of the things I love about, doing, if I'm going to do a pattern, I love to make it my own colors, but these colors with brown, I think will fit so well into my wardrobe and will suit my coloring and all of that. So I'm really excited to make this. I'm not sure if I'm going to make the black and white one, but there's one more that I just want to show you. It's so gorgeous. Here, you can see this one. It's not the one that I mean, this is gorgeous too, but this is one that is um, influenced by her time in Africa. Really gorgeous book, really gorgeous. And let me see, find the one that I can't wait to make. Nope, not that one. It's this one. I love, love this. I just think that's such an elegant, beautiful, beautiful knit. And what I would call an investment knit. Not that it would cost a lot of, I mean, I already did the math for the yarn. The yarn is not that expensive, but I do think it's an investment in time and focus and this idea of mindless knitting versus really focused and intentional knitting is a big thing, right? There's a big difference between those two. And so this would be like something that maybe I'll devote the summer to, or the spring, where I don't feel like I want to get it done so I can wear it and I just can, plan for the next season. Cause I think that is like it's really my style. I love big prints and I love stark, dramatic contrast. And I love the oversized fit, but it's also boxy. And yeah, I think I'll get a ton of use out of that. So I'm going to be doing that. And there's a hat that goes with it that I'm going to also work on to just kind of get used to the pattern. Here's a hat that was a total fail, but also I wanted to share it with you because it really wasn't a total fail in terms of the color work. Isn't that gorgeous? And I love this crown. I got this from Nordic Knits, a book called Nordic Knits, which I just love the design, but I didn't get gauge, obviously. And it's double knitted, so it's nice and thick. And it doesn't work as a bucket hat. It's too flared. It looks weird. I don't know, but I can't bring myself to get rid of it. I just keep it around because I love this pattern. I love the colors and I love this pattern. Really, really beautiful. I love Scandinavian knits. I love that style. So there we go. There's my little thing about accessories and also just my knitting story. I love part of why I love doing this. Part of why I do this is to connect with other knitters and to hear from you what it is that that opens your heart about knitting and what it is that brings you to it over and over again. And is it simply the craft? Is it that product, the end product? Is it the calm that it brings you? Is it, like me, there's a part of me that just loves feeling like I can create things out of thin air and it's almost magical. So, whatever it is, I'd love to hear. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Thank you for your sweet comments and see you next time. Bye bye.